Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, the fellow KGB. Tonight, we are joined by John Heffernan. We're going to be doing our first NBA playoffs show. We really don't know where we're going to go with this. We're just going to kind of recap what we've been seeing so far. We got a handful of games that we're excited about tonight. You got the Celtics and Nets tipping off in probably a half an hour or so. Lakers Suns tonight and Mavericks Clippers. So I'm trying to watch those two games for sure. I'll probably monitor the Celtics Nets and check in the second half, but overall, it's pretty much from this way on. It's every night's going to be a fun basketball night. So with that, welcome to the show, John. How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for having me, Kyle.
Mm-hmm. So we're a few games. The playoffs started Saturday. We've had 3 nights of games. What are I guess should we start with some of our biggest takeaways, or should I look at anything? Should I pull anything up in particular, or what have we been observing so far in the playoffs?
Yeah, no, great question. Biggest takeaways. I think the Knicks Hawks series is going to be way more competitive than I thought it was going to be. That was something I had no idea what to expect, honestly, going into the playoffs on that one. The Bucks look really primed for action, but we'll dive into that soon enough, I'm sure. And the Blazers Nuggets was a lot of fun. The first 2 games. I really like that series as well. I could talk about every series, I guess. What are some of your reactions?
All right, are we good, John? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I forgot because I reset my router before the show, and I forgot to change it to the correct internet router. But we're good to go. What were you saying? Continue. Nothing happened.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah. So I think instant reactions. I feel like the Hawks and Knicks series is it went from the least entertaining, the thing I was the least interested in, and now it might be one of the more entertaining series in the entire setup in the entire playoff bracket, just because I have no idea what to expect, and both of those teams, really want to win. It's pretty obvious. Lakers have a lot of rust to kick off, the Bucks are very ready to roll, but I think we'll talk about that more than we, as we always do. But instant reactions, just a lot of really good basketball. So,
And then, so I'm just going to kind of recap what we saw so far. So that Saturday, that was a really fun Saturday. They had the game starting at 1 o'clock for the Bucks. Bucks beat Miami in overtime. So you kind of know, as soon as the first playoff game is in overtime, it's going to probably be a good day of basketball. So that was a fun way to start the game, or to start the playoffs. Dallas and LA Clippers. I'm still Team Luka on this one. I think the Mavs can pull it off, but that game 2 is tonight. I'm excited about that one. Boston, Brooklyn. We were talking about this off air before the show, and as Bucks fans, we are hoping the Celtics can steal. Even if it's just 1 game, 2 games would be greatly appreciated. But we're hoping that they can prolong that series. And we were talking before, Boston played a really good first half. They just didn't have any offensive consistency in the second half. So we'll see if they make any adjustments tonight, coming in maybe a half an hour or so. And then Portland, Denver, that series is 2 games through right now. It's tied 1-1. I think that one's going to be fun. I think that one's going to seven games. So we'll look to see what happens. I think they play maybe Thursday night, the next night. I don't know if they play tomorrow night or not. And then the Sunday games, Washington, Philly, we probably know Philly's going to move on there. But Lakers and Phoenix, man, what should we expect tonight? I think AD is going to probably have an answer from his poor game the other night here. What do you got for Lakers Phoenix tonight?
This is the series I was the most excited about. In fact, I thought this could be Western Conference Finals caliber basketball. And the rust that LeBron and AD are still kicking off and still dealing with, and still coming back from injury, it's very obvious they're not totally themselves yet. Especially the playoff versions of themselves, which are always so special and so elite. They don't have a lot of time. They have to figure it out now. They have to be playoff LeBron and playoff Anthony Davis right now. DeAndre Ayton had the best game of his life in game 1. I think he missed 1 shot. He had a massive double-double, and Devin Booker is Devin Booker. So a really, really tough opponent, and didn't even talk about Chris Paul. Like a very, very tough opponent. So if LeBron and AD are not going to be themselves, this is going to be over fast, I think. So they need to figure it out tonight. I mean, I really think, and I expect them to. Mostly because LeBron always shows that to me, especially in the playoffs. He always brings it. So I expect the Lakers to have a much better showing tonight. Who knows if that means it's more of like a very competitive overtime potential game, or maybe even the Lakers blowout. But I definitely expect more from LeBron tonight. Davis is my X factor, and I think this is going to be a hell of a game. I really do. I think the Suns are ready for it too. I mean, when you have Chris Paul on the other side, you're never going to lack for energy coming into a playoff game.
Right. And I guess the thing that I'm noticing from the box score is the Suns just rely on their starters for heavy minutes. And if you look at what the Lakers, their depth is not the strongest. We like Kuzma, we like Harrell, but it looks like the Suns just keep their starters out there, and they probably give them a little bit more going up against these second teamers. So that's what I'm probably going to be watching for, is how does that Lakers second team respond tonight? They need to shoot, but like they only hit 7 threes in that game. That's 7 of 26. That's almost 27%. The Suns didn't shoot particularly better, but I think the Lakers need to find points outside of Davis and LeBron James. So that's what I'm going to be watching for tonight. But
Can you scroll down? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, back to the Suns.
Yeah. Just thinking about their starting lineup. You have Crowder at power forward. He's 6'6". You have Bridges a small forward. He's 6'6". You have Booker at shooting guard. Booker's actually a pretty tall guard, but he's only like 6'5", I think 6'6" maybe. Chris Paul obviously 6 foot. Normal point, very small point guard, and then Aiden's obviously a center. Like he's a legit center. But the Lakers, when they were dominating last year in the playoffs, Anthony Davis played a lot of center, and he played a lot of center in the finals when it mattered most. When they have, if you scroll up, you see that they're starting Drummond, and they've been starting Gasol a lot, and that's fine for the starting lineups. And definitely Drummond's minutes cut down, but I think they need to really, and between Drummond and Harrell getting that many minutes, they need to figure out a way to make that less. They just need more Anthony Davis at center. That is the solution to all their problems all the time, it feels like. So I hope we see more of that tonight from the Lakers.
Ayton just has more energy than both Drummond and Harrell, so he's going to continue to feed whoever is guarding him. He's got the youth, he's got the energy on his side, and as we saw game 1, he was so efficient that there really wasn't anything that Drummond or Harrell could do. So if they put Davis on him and have some people help when they need to, I agree. I think tonight's game is all about Anthony Davis, isn't it? His poor shooting night, he didn't really do much else, throughout the stat sheet. So it's really it comes down to how good Davis can play, and can their bench hit some threes. But
agreed, actually, Kyle. That's a great point. I mean, and think about the play-in game too, that Warriors-Lakers game, which was absolutely one of the more entertaining games I've watched in the past 5 years of my life. But Davis, he had a couple moments where he really got going offensively, but overall, I felt like Draymond Green really shut him down. And so we've got kind of 2 offensive stinkers, more or less, for Davis in a row, at least for what he's able to do. I wouldn't call a 20-point game in the play-in game against a crappy Warriors defense as a good offensive performance. So if he can step up offensively, and to your point, play just a little bit of defense on Ayton, so Ayton doesn't make 10 of 11 shots and just has the easiest offensive game of all time, that switches so much. It changes the whole outlook and complexity of the game. So I do expect the Lakers to win, as we keep talking about it, but I do think this game is going to be close.
And let's talk about the nightcap. Well, it's not really a nightcap. There's going to be 2 games on simultaneously, but we're talking Dallas Mavericks and the Clippers. Did you catch any of that game 1?
I caught a little bit of the first half. I needed a little break because that
Same
Bucks
here.
game was very emotional for me and very cathartic. But I caught a little bit of that first half, and it's just Luka's life is so easy. He can be against it on the basketball court, I should say. Like he just there's no defender in the NBA that can really slow him down. And when they play the Clippers, they did this last year in the playoffs. I thought he looked good against Kawhi, and I think he looks good against whatever defenders the Clippers are throwing at him this year. I do expect at some point they really just unleash Kawhi on him, but I think he's one of the only guys in the league that can handle that and
Mhm.
actually maybe still be useful offensively.
I'm just the first again, like the thing that I look at when I'm looking at this box score from game one is look at the starters' minutes. Everybody's just playing a ton. Like they're essentially playing these guys 3 full quarters and a little bit extra. So you're seeing these guys get into rhythm a little bit more. You look at the 3-point shooting from Dorian Finney-Smith, Hardaway Jr., and Doncic. These guys are just in the game. They're staying hot. And between the three of them, they hit 14 threes. And I think those Dorian Finney-Smith threes were a huge reason why they were able to kind of stay ahead in the third and the fourth quarter. But let's go down and look at the Clippers here, and what do we notice? Of course, Kawhi with the 41 minutes. That's a high minutes for him. I think he's usually a little bit lower than that. But does anything stick out from this Clippers box score for you?
Much more distribution of minutes, and I think what you see with the Mavericks and what we were talking about with like the Suns is very normal for the NBA playoffs. But one thing this tells me about the Clippers is that they either have they way too confident in their a lot of their guards especially, or they're an older team. They weren't really enjoying the rhythm that they were getting out of Beverly and Rondo, who was kind of their first guy off the bench. So they went to Jackson this game. I think either they're really overconfident, or they're too confident in their roster that they don't want to shrink it, or they're just searching for answers and just throwing in guys to see what sticks and what's
Mhm.
going to help with the Luka problem. So I think it feels to me like they're kind of grasping for straws right now at the guard position. And I don't know how much that has to do with Luka, because I think they should be using George and Leonard and Morris to guard Luka, but obviously there's a ripple effect that Luka is having, and that's impacting the confidence the Clippers have in their guards.
Yeah. So the thing that I remember is, well, Beverly was out for a while. I think he's still getting his legs underneath him, which is why he doesn't have a lot of minutes here. He's got the
Good
start,
point.
17 minutes as a starter, and then in his absence, they got to use Rondo and Reggie Jackson, who Reggie Jackson was on my fantasy team at moments throughout the season. So those guys both played pretty well, but it seems like they're still figuring out how they want to play these minutes. And I think we've had this conversation before, but last year, what really frustrated me with the Milwaukee Bucks is we did not condense our minutes more towards the starters. We were playing too many guys, too many minutes, just kind of laying around. And like you said, the playoffs are a different thing. You want to get your best players on the floor as much as possible. And I wonder if we're going to see more condensed minutes by the Clippers and just try to make sure that the offense is humming at all times in the defense as well. Because with Luka, it's literally an all hands on deck situation. So it makes sense that you're going to see, especially guys like Rondo. I think Rondo's minutes might increase because I just like his ability on offense. Beverly, though, with his defense, I don't know if you put Patrick Beverly on Doncic at all?
I mean, I'm sitting here, just talking out my ass as someone who I play basketball, once every couple weeks at this point, given the beautiful pandemic. But I was just saying that Kawhi Leonard is having a hard time guarding Doncic. I think you have to throw the kitchen sink at Doncic. He's one of those guys you have to just switch up the defenders. So having a guy like Pat Beverly, yeah, absolutely, you're gonna put him on Doncic. But to answer your question, like a little more specifically, like is he going to actually impact Doncic and make his life difficult? Probably not. I don't think so. I think Doncic, like I said right away before I started rambling, I think Doncic's life is too easy on the basketball court, and there's really no one on the planet that slows him down, makes it difficult, And I mean, if he's able to score over Kawhi and Paul George, he's absolutely going to be able to score over Beverly. But you have to throw all three of them at him. You have to throw Morris at him. You have to give him different looks. I mean, that's the only potential way to throw him off, is to just switch it up, throughout the game. So I hope they put him on him, and I hope he shows up. But Doncic is hard to cover, man. He's too good offensively.
So I'm trying to get us into a Tuesday draft real quick. We'll see if I can make it happen. But if we got time, I'm going to try to get us into a little fantasy draft. The game starts in like 15 minutes, but I'll see if that opens up. And we're starting. Kind of random here. I was doing this on the side while we were talking, and I was just listening. But how about this is going to be fun? We're going to do a little draft here, John. What do you think about this?
I'm in. Sure. Let's go.
This is for tonight's game. It's slate of games. It's only tonight. It looks like we have the 4th pick. So we're drafting against 3 other guys. We have the 4th pick. We have the 1-4 and the 2-1. So maybe we kind of just fill this out. I want to look at the rules real quick before we get started.
Interesting.
So this is drafters.com, which I like to use quite a bit. So for this one, we're drafting 1 point guard, 1 shooting, 1 small, 1 power, 1 center, and then we get 3 flexes. So that's basically we're drafting 8 players, but we get 3 flexes. So does that, I guess, how should we go about constructing this roster?
Who's playing tonight? Okay, so we got 6 teams tonight: Celtics, Nets, Lakers, Suns, Mavericks, Clippers, and we have the last pick. We have the 4th pick.
If I filter kind of here too, we're gonna see start to drop off, but we probably got to get one of these top 3 centers.
We tell you who's healthy and whatnot, because Robert Williams hurt his toe in the first game.
Is he out tonight?
Barely found the mute button in time. I just had a big sneeze. Sorry. I think he's playing. He's expected to play. Okay, cool. No worries then. I say, yeah, we probably grab a center at the beginning here. Why not Anthony Davis? You know Davis is going to bounce back. He's not going to have 2 stinkers in a row against DeAndre Ayton, who I'm not certain can play defense. So give me Davis at the 4 spot. And then you take, best player available between probably Durant, Harden, and Tatum, I guess.
So we just started the draft. We know Luka is off the board. We're guaranteed one of these guys here. So we'll take whatever one's left over: LeBron, James, Durant, Tatum. We'll take one of those guys. What do you think about? There goes James Harden. So this is looking good. Well, let's just let it shake out and see how it goes. I'm into Anthony Davis, but dude, if we can flex DeAndre Ayton, that might be nice because we're lowering somebody else's center points quite a bit. We can't pass on these guys up here for 2 centers, can we?
Yeah, I think we snag Davis first. So you don't have to hit yes yet if you don't want, but I think we get Davis, and then Tatum, Durant. You can't go wrong. If you wanted to enact that strategy, I'd be open to it. But man, Tatum and Durant are going to put up wild points tonight. I almost think Tatum, but if you want to go Durant, let's do it.
Well, let's lock in Davis.
Yeah, so let's have the conversation quick. So Tatum is a one-man show, and there's a good chance they're gonna be playing the whole game. Durant could get rested, and he has some help but he's a freak. So let's go Durant. Durant's more fun.
All right. And then so it put Anthony Davis at the power forward spot for us. Can you see that?
Can we switch him?
I think it defaults to his first position listed. So you see how Kawhi Leonard has the SFSG here?
We need a refund. No, we'll figure it out. Hey, we got to give these kids a chance, don't we?
But as far as we should probably make sure. I mean, at worst case scenario, we're getting Robert Williams probably as our center, which I'm totally fine with. We probably don't want anything below that.
Yeah, no, let's see. Let's see. Oh, it's Snake. Yeah, so we got a little ways to wait, but Aiden could fall. I mean, who knows if people aren't thinking about the game theory the right way.
Mhm.
Um, we'll see what happens. The next pick though, if we can get,
We're not getting those top four guys. No way. Kawhi, no George, no Irving. And we're gonna get one of Booker or Chris Paul.
or we get the centers. I mean, essentially that means the centers have to fall too. So um, I think we take a center if one of those two is still there.
How do you
I,
feel about
I,
Porzingis tonight? He hasn't really been playing the greatest. He only had 22 and a half fantasy points against the Clippers in game one.
um, just snag Aiton. I don't know. I don't know, man. That's tough because it's like we picked Davis already, so I can just kind of assume they're going to be matched up a lot. Um, hmm.
I kind of like the idea of getting Evan Fournier later. What about Kemba? Didn't have the
Yeah.
great.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I love Kemba. I like Robert Williams. I like Mikal Bridges. The late rounds are easy. We're gonna eat. Can you scroll down at all? Can we see who else is available down there?
I like getting Dorian Finney-Smith later.
Absolutely. Love Dorian.
Maybe some Jay Crowder. We'll
You
see.
know, Drummond. Maybe this is a game where Drummond randomly plays 30 minutes. If you catch Drummond on a night where he gets minutes, he's incredible. Like that's a fantasy grand slam kind of thing, isn't it? Like, oh, he's so attractive, but he's not. He's dangerous. I say we stay away from him.
We're on deck right now.
Okay, yeah. So, you make these two? I made the last two. You make these two.
Well, we're gonna take Aiton here, and then you gotta convince me not to take Chris Paul because it seems like we should take Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton here.
I think Kemba is the only argument against Paul. And every part of me says draft Paul. I can't even like I can't even Kemba's gonna could probably score more points. I guess that's the only argument I could make. Everything else I want Chris Paul. So give me Chris Paul, please.
But you make a good point that Boston game, Boston needs to play their best like tonight. But who knows? Maybe I would assume the Boston guys go really. I mean, they're the next best three available here. There's probably no chance that we're going to get one of these Boston guys, but maybe we can get Robert Williams to fall. But how do we not take Chris Paul here? I think that's what we're going to do.
You got to take Paul. You got to take Paul.
All right, so
I mean, Kemba is the only argument, and he's just a tier or two below. I mean, Paul has had an incredible run these past 2 years,
mhm.
and this. I think he knows, Kyle, that this is his last chance at a playoff run, like where he can be arguably the top guy on the team, or obviously the top guy on the team. So this is an important year for Paul, and this is an important series for his legacy. I think he gives it his all every game. So I love him fantasy wise in this series.
So what do we start eyeing up here? We're up in 4 picks. We do need a shooting guard yet, but then we get those 3 flexes. So I would love to get Robert Williams on our team. Again, the Nets don't really have a true center that I think can compete with Robert Williams. He had 43.75 points the other day. So to me, that's the one guy that I want to take for sure if he gets there.
Bridges is the perfect shooting guard for us, Kyle.
We just missed out on Robert Williams. So I'm all aboard Mikal Bridges if we can get him, and then we'll have to we'll have to play around here and see what we can get for our flexes.
And if we don't get Bridges, I like Hardaway. I think Hardaway had a fun game last game. Or do we go for the Harris bounce back?
So Harris, 14.25. He's kind of streaky every now and then. He wasn't on a minutes restriction last time either. We're up to pick though. We just missed our 2 guys, Robert Williams and Mikal Bridges here. So
Sure.
We get 2 picks here. Who's one guy we have to have here? I kind of like Tim Hardaway.
Yeah, I like Hardaway too. I didn't realize Harris was really kind of not playing so hot. So yeah, Hardaway. Let's go for Hardaway as our shooting guard. Love it.
It feels like he has a higher floor. So now we're into our final three picks. Is there any center here that we trust at all? Like, do we take Marcus Morris? He doesn't seem to have a very high ceiling lately.
No, no, get away from Morris. Uh, run away. I like Dorian here. I don't see why we don't just grab Dorian. Yeah.
And because we weren't able to get Luca, we weren't able to get Porzingis. So I like getting Hardaway and Finney Smith because if Dallas expects to win, it's going to be on the backs of these two guys with their shooting. And we looked earlier at their minutes. Like these starters play heavy minutes. So we just plugged in guys that are probably going to play 30, 35 minutes tonight. So I'm liking this team, man. We got two more picks here. So who's going to be our walk off? Like who are we targeting here to end our draft?
Oof. I mean, Drummond is such a grand slam kind of piece, and there's not a lot of really interesting pieces left. I wonder if Zubac maybe has a bit of a bounce back game. He had a really tough outing last night or Saturday.
I would take Drummond. Like it's impressive that he only played 19 minutes and he gets 26.25 points. Just look at his game logs. The last this is where the value is from the end of the season where he started to kind of hit his stride. So I'm interested in Drummond, and I think it'd be foolish if they let us have him this late.
Yeah, Drummond. It's hard to argue against him right now. So for the last pick, if we're lucky enough to get Drummond, um, what are we looking for with this last guy? Jeff Green gets a lot of minutes, but he's not that great.
We missed out on Drummond. What's up with Kleba? It's been a while since he's played. No, he played game one. He played pretty well against game one, but he's questionable. You into some KCP?
KCP is someone I've messed around with a couple times this year in fantasy in our league because he gets the minutes, and with that, and he gets the LeBron passes. So KCP is not a bad choice.
What about some Cameron Payne here?
Uh,
He's kind of back to the bench role. He didn't play great in game one.
I don't like Cameron Payne, but scroll down just a little bit.
Nick Batum?
Shoot, we got to move. Caruso is a really good option, I think. Look at Caruso's game one. Wait, what? I thought he had a game. Okay, never mind. Yeah, let's just scroll up and grab whoever you want. I'm fine with whatever. Batum wouldn't be bad. KCP is not a bad option. Zubac isn't a bad option.
Let's grab Batum because we don't have any Clippers
Nice.
yet. And now this is the final pick here. Bruce Brown doesn't play much anymore. Josh Richardson, he was playing better, but I think he's now kind of out of the minutes role. Does KCP seems like a streaky guy that could put us over the edge tonight? But I kind of like Jay Crowder. We know he's a starter for them, and he's going to play some good minutes. He seems to be like the safest guy of the bunch. Brunson doesn't play enough. I kind of like Brunson too. We got 5 seconds.
Go with KCP.
Got it in. All right, so our final lineup. We got Chris Paul, Tim Hardaway Jr., Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, DeAndre Ayton, and then on the flex, Dorian Finney-Smith, Nick Batum, and KCP. So we'll see. I don't know. I'll let you know how this one goes. I'll send you some updates later tonight. But
I ain't gonna forget this roster. It's 8 guys. This is seared into my brain. I'm super hyped. I think in hindsight we maybe made a mistake going. We're both big Finney Smith guys, but I think we maybe made a mistake going Finney Smith over Drummond. Yeah. But I think we'll find out. If Drummond plays less than 20 minutes, we're probably good, and if he plays more than 20 minutes, we might be in trouble. So I think that one's a big X factor for us. But beyond that, I think we did okay. I wish we would have had a minute in the last rounds instead of 30 seconds. But beyond that, I think our team's pretty stacked.
what we just did, we just drafted in a 4-man draft, but now we're entered into a pool of 140 drafts. or 140 teams. First place $140. So we'll see. We'll see. It should be fun. But I'd like to do this every Tuesday night going forward, where we just draft a team. Maybe we start the show off a little bit with it too. It depends on when the games start, I suppose. But I wanted to make sure we got it in before tip off, because I think
Nice.
all the lobbies are closing right now. So, but that was fun. That was
Yeah.
we got something to look forward to now. But we got that game coming around the corner. What else? I mean, is it time to talk the Bucks? Is it Bryn Forbes Tuesday night happy hour? What are we doing here?
I mean, we could definitely talk about the Bucks if you'd like. It's a beautiful day to talk about the bench. Connaughton, Forbes, both just scorching hot from three. I love watching Sam Merrill and Jordan Nora and Elijah Bryant and Axel Toupon, and I love it when those guys are on the court. That always makes me happy. All my human victory cigars. And they all look like they had a lot of fun. But I want to talk a little bit about PJ Tucker, if you'll let me.
Go for it.
Really appreciated his energy, his effort, and he was mic'd up yesterday, and he was just going off, just loud and yapping, and I appreciate that. I think that has been missing for the Milwaukee Bucks in our last two playoff runs. And it's a subtle thing. It's a culture thing. It's a defensive mindset thing. Not that the Bucks have been bad defensively in the past. It's just, and I think Bobby Portis gives them a little bit of that too. It's just this toughness intangible, if you will. And so I'm just so happy to have a guy like PJ Tucker around. He's probably the most undersung guy on this Bucks roster right now of anyone that people talk about. And I just thought he deserved a little minute in the sun there.
It gives a guy like PJ Tucker, a veteran who understands where the Bucks are. He understands his role with the team, and he knows where they want to go. He adds the word I'm looking for. It's like you talked a lot about culture, but he adds some physicalness, some physicality, and I guess the bite to the word, like a little bit of extra toughness off the bench. That you got a veteran guy that's not going to take nobody's shit. Like he's going to kind of be he's like the older uncle on the floor, because we have a lot of young guys coming off the bench, whether that's Bobby Portis, Connaughton, Forbes. A lot of those guys don't have the experience that PJ Tucker has. So he's a good second floor unit leader, kind of their general. I love having him here. But just looking at this box score real quick, I mean, Brook Lopez only 7 points, DiVincenzo only 5 points, Drew Holiday only 11 points. Even though Bryn Forbes, Connaughton, and Bobby Portis all played well, those points can, kind of fluctuate between each other. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if DiVincenzo or Holiday go off the other night. So I think what we just saw from the Bucks last night, it's repeatable. We're not going to hit 22 threes again, but if you told me 15, 16, I would take that. Last night, man, opened up a lot of thinking, I think, for the Heat, because now they got to worry about Bryn Forbes. They didn't have to worry about him too much before. Now he's a problem. And then you got Pat Connaughton and Bryn Forbes coming off the bench to hit 11 threes. I really don't know how you defend that, because you got to worry about Giannis and Middleton on the floor as well. So the Bucks struck lightning last night, but I think this is something that can be replicated. They're just not going to hit 22 threes every night, but they're going to be, I don't know, number one scoring team in the NBA, and they showed last night why. It's because we got guys that can kind of just dominate from the bench almost any given night. So it was a fun game, man. Did you watch the whole game?
I did, and I'm glad you took the offensive side of this discussion, because it's fascinating how good the Bucks are on both sides of the ball. I mean, they are a playoff ready and prime team offensively and defensively right now. I cannot stop thinking about the defense. I know the threes were just raining last night, and that was fun as hell. You can't beat that experience as a fan. Watching your team rain threes on your opponent in the playoffs, a very, very hard moment to top. But I'm a big fan of defense. Mm-hmm. And watching an offensive player like Dragic, for example, who's a very talented offensive player in this league and has been for a long time, watching him bounce into PJ Tucker and then spin away into Giannis and then finally go over the screen and get clamped up by Drew Holiday. I honestly, I don't think I've never in Milwaukee, certainly, but I don't even know if I've ever really seen that much high level of defensive talent and energy on the court at the same time. I'm sure I have. I guess those like 04, 05, that kind of that mini dynasty the Pistons had for a little while. That probably is like what I'm talking about. That level of defensive, not just scheme and system, but talent, defensive talent across multiple players, across multiple positions. The Bucks have something there, and I think that is exactly what they were trying to do when they brought Drew Holiday in. The balance on both sides of the court, the improvement offensively, but also very much defensively. And I mean, at least through 2 playoff games, it's working. I'm sure the Brooklyn Nets will solve it because they have 3 of the 10, 15, 20 best offensive players of all time. But just because the Brooklyn Nets might solve it doesn't mean it's an insane riddle and puzzle for any other team in this league. I mean, I really think they've done something great, and Brooklyn will be the ultimate test, ultimate test.
And
if they get there, I mean, there's still a long way to go. Like we know, we've been up 2-0 before.
I'm just soaking up this box score, and I'm seeing Chris Middleton only 5 field goal attempts, and the Bucks win by 34. If I told you Chris Middleton's only going to shoot the ball 5 times, what would you expect the outcome of that game to be?
I don't know. I would expect it to be a loss. Like he got clamped up, or he got hurt, or he got into foul trouble. I wouldn't expect it to have been he played 24 minutes and he really didn't have to shoot if he didn't want to.
And just looking at some of the other starters too, like Lopez didn't shoot the ball. He shot 2 for 5. He didn't get a lot of attempts. Like it still makes me wonder. Like we're probably never going to see an offensive explosion like that from Connaughton and Forbes again at the same time. But the fact remains, the Bucks starters still have not played a complete game where everybody eats. And that's exciting. That's what's exciting to me. So I really want to watch this Nets game and start scoping out how I think if we're not going to hit 22 of 53 threes every game, but hitting 40% from 3, I think that's doable. We should continue to hit at that clip. So if we see some weaknesses in the Nets defense regarding 3-pointers, we might be on something here. But just to turn the table real quick, like if you're a Heat fan, if you're Pat Riley, how do you fix this and not go back to Miami and give up a game right away?
More Duncan Robinson. I mean, the fact that Duncan Robinson is not shooting 10 threes a game is the biggest sin that I'm seeing in the Heat. And it's they don't even have to force it. I mean, he is getting so open. And the Bucks, as great as their defensive talent is, their focus is very much not on the shooters right now for Miami. I feel like Robinson is open a lot. I don't really know what's going on with Hero, but I feel like he's open a lot. I feel like I've seen Kendrick Nunn get a lot of open threes. These guys need more shots, and they need to start canning them. Mm-hmm. And Adebayo just looks shook. It's night and day from what we watched in the playoffs last year, where Adebayo dominated every facet of the game. He just looks absolutely shook. I don't know if he's a little injured or what, but he does not look like the Bam Adebayo that I know. And so I think if he can figure his stuff out, Jimmy Butler's shooting can kind of regress to the mean, and they focus on hammering their shooters with shot attempts, especially Duncan Robinson, especially Duncan Robinson. That would be my recipe, because I think Dragic is still whooping our ass like he always does. And so they still have all the pieces they need to beat the Bucks. I mean, they absolutely dismantled us last year. So,
but yeah, I think that's the one that sticks out. Only 6 shot attempts for Duncan Robinson. He needs to shoot the ball. He should be shooting 4 or 5 threes per quarter at this point. Like, what do they got to lose? But yeah, you got to probably get some double-digit 3-point attempts out of your best shooter. if you're going to make some noise in the playoffs. But has there been any series? It looks like this the Boston Nets game has tipped off underway here. Nets 22, Celtics 13. Let's see who's moving the ball. There's Joe Harris there for you. He's got 3 of 3 from 3-pointers. We knew it. And he just hit another one. He's 4 of 4 from 3.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm kind of watching this game a little bit. He just made a layup. Fast break layup.
So he's up to 6 points in the first quarter already. But I don't know. Is there any series that we haven't touched on? I just want to make sure we cover all the bases here.
Jazz Grizzlies, we've spoken about 0, and that has to deserve a little mention, I imagine.
Even the Hawks and the Knicks. Which one do you want to start with first?
Let's go with Hawks Knicks.
Alrighty. So I only caught the ending of this game, but were you able to watch the majority of it?
I watched a lot of this game, yeah, and I was really impressed with what I saw. Not a super high scoring game, a little bit of feeling each other out to start. But you see a first quarter 16-24. It's not totally pretty. But that second quarter, you can tell they just took off from there. After that feeling, kind of almost like a football playoff game. You feel each other out to start the game, and then flip the switch. Not even before the first half is up. I think this series went from the one I was the least interested in to one that I'm more interested in, top 3 most interested in. I think it could go to 7. What did you think of the ending? Because the ending was so fun.
Well, just the buckets, man. They're just trading back and forth. The energy was high. That was an enjoyable game because you could feel the energy through the TV, like in the stadium. When's the last time the Knicks had a home playoff game?
Hosted a series, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was definitely a Carmelo year. So 13, 2012, 2011, something around there.
And then, just not only it's that, but it's like the whole COVID-19 thing and how hard New York got hit. It was 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
But with just how hard it was for things to get back to normal for New York and now they get rewarded with a playoff game, you could feel that in the energy just watching that game and seeing the fans react and stuff. So that was probably the biggest takeaway is the energy, man. You could feel it. But the Knicks, they gotta, I don't know what it is. This starting lineup, man. Look at this starting lineup. How do we fix this if we're Tom Thibodeau?
I think the Nets I keep calling them the Nets. I have no idea why. I keep thinking the Knicks have been overachieving all season with this roster. I mean, Randall is now a superstar, but if he's not playing like it, then this roster is very, very ordinary. So they need Randall to play like a star, and I don't know. That's really the only solution because I feel like once that happens, everything else on this team kind of kicks into place like it had been doing in the regular season. Because if you're asking for someone else to step up big time, I don't think you're getting more from Rose than what he gave you. He gave you an absolute gem of a performance. So there's just nowhere else to really turn besides maybe Barrett. I just think he's a little too young. He's not quite ready yet.
So the things that stick out looking at the box score, Julius Randle, 6 of 23. That's not going to get it done. But why are we starting Alfred Payton and only giving him 8 minutes? D Rose gets 38. I look at the score in the first quarter. It's 24-16. We should probably make sure our best players are on the court to start the game so we're not down 8 at the end of the first quarter. So that's just strategy stuff. I think the Knicks can be a little bit better there. But Alec Burks off the bench, 3 of 5 from 3, 6 of 8 from the free throw, game leading 27 points. They probably got to find a way to get him more involved and make sure he's getting more shots up too. I thought Emmanuel quickly played well off the bench.
Yeah.
I don't know this game, this series in general. Both teams are going to have their runs, and but only one team has an ice tray. I guess that's all I can say. So. Uh,
The ice tray.
yeah.
I love that. That's my new favorite thing. He's just the shivering.
What's up with these Tony Snell minutes? 13 minutes for Tony Snell, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 3 points. The ultimate Tony Snell line. Um,
Yeah, he was in like the 50-50. He's the first member of the 50-50-100 club. Man, he's a legend now. He's forever in NBA lore.
mhm.
So he's got to get minutes. You put him in. He's not going to take a lot of shots, and he's not going to miss any of them. You put him out. That's the perfect guy to play next to with Lou Williams, who's going to take all the shots. So it's perfect. They were born to play together.
Someone's got to do the dirty work, and Tony Snell will do that for you. But I don't know, man. I think this game. Just let me find the schedule real quick. I think that's tomorrow. I'm gonna look at tomorrow night's schedule. Um, Yep, that is a 6:30 game. We got Washington, Philadelphia at 6. Memphis, Utah. That's the last one we have to talk about. But let's that's the nightcap for tomorrow night. Let's take a look and see what we can talk about for this one. Were you able to watch most of this game?
Yeah, I really liked this game a lot. It was very, very interesting. I think Aiden in the chat way earlier had said something about Dylan Brooks is a beast, monster, excuse me. Yes, but he is a monstrous beast and a beastly monster. Really like Brooks. I never thought of him as a defender, even watching him this season, but this guy's got some really interesting playoff energy. He brings it. Valanciunas has a lot of really interesting playoff energy. I think Morant is known as being an energetic player. This team has way better like playoff vibes than I ever expected they would. And Jaren Jackson is still kind of figuring his stuff out. That being said, Donovan Mitchell's return should put the series to bed. But I think the Grizzlies have proven to me that they're a scrappy team, and they're only going to get better. So that's a team that I was really excited for next year. That I think is not going to be much of a sleeper anymore. But the Jazz are going to win this series. I mean, they're just, as long as Mitchell comes back, they have too much.
The only thing I think that we have to be thinking of is when it goes back to Memphis for 2 games. I just remembered the Grizzlies crowd during the play-in game. That was a pretty hyped arena for most of that game. If they can steal 1 game at home and send that back to Utah 2-2, now we're talking. They have a lot of work to go. And again, you add to Donovan Mitchell, the Avalanche, and the wall just gets a little bit stiffer, a little bit more tougher. But I think I'm watching those 2 games in Memphis. If they can steal one of those games, I won't sign it off on it yet. But I like the spirit. I like the funk of Memphis. They play a lot of their starters for the most part of the game here. And then you got some 3-point shoot. Grayson Allen coming off the bench to hit some threes. Desmond Bane's been kind of fun. But what's up with Brandon Clark? Is he on the COVID list?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Brandon Clark. I spent a lot of time talking about how he looked really good this season, and then when Jackson comes back, Jackson's not even gonna be able to get down the floor because Brandon Clark's falling out. But yeah, he looks like he's injured a little bit, but yeah, Jackson has been really, really good. Clark being out obviously kind of forces the coach's hand to play Jackson all the minutes, but in theory, if both of those guys are available at some point, that's just a stronger rotation for the Grizzlies. I mean, they already have one of the better big power forward rotations with Jackson, with Anderson, with Tillman, and with what's that guy's name? Clark. Sorry. So I like hopefully he can come back. I think that would be a big punch for them, but it's just, you can't overcome the shot in the arm that Mitchell's going to be for the Jazz.
Mm-hmm. Dylan Brooks is going to have to continue this pace that he's on lately, the last few games, which we'll see if that can continue or not. But I don't know, man. Any final thoughts on the first round of the playoffs so far? Or should we go watch some basketball?
I think I liked what you said about the series, the likelihood of the series going 2-2. And I actually agree with you. And a lot of former players will say if a series goes 2-2, no matter how it gets to 2-2, everything kind of resets,
Yep.
and you really zone in on that 3 game series. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but I hear that a lot, and I just think about it, and anything goes in that 3 game series. And so I really think the Grizzlies maybe have a better chance than I was giving them, but I do just expect the Jazz will win if Mitchell comes back in game 2. So, but I think that series is going 6 minimum at this point. The Grizzlies, because you're going to have a rusty Mitchell to play with. So I still think they're going to lose one of those. The Jazz are going to lose one of those games. But sorry, I just that series is fascinating to me. I think that one could go 7, and if it does, that game 7 would be very fun in my opinion.
So he hasn't played for a while, and you mentioned the word rust. That's why I'm holding the door open for Memphis right now, because I'm assuming it'd be very impressive if Memphis wins this next game. What are the odds then? I mean, that's going to be tough for Utah to come back. But if there's any kind of rust, or if Mitchell shoots 20% for one game, all of a sudden you're looking at just that door getting a little bit more wide open for Memphis. And again, just the energy that they had in those playing games, like you could tell the city was turned up about this. And if they can send it home, send it back 2-2, you're looking at something that could be pretty fun. So I'm excited to see what Mitchell can do, but leaning Utah for now. But I'm just going to hold the door open.
Good, smart man. Got to respect the jaw.
It looks like the Celtics, they're not going away. They've been having to deal with Joe Harris being a pesky shooter in the first quarter here, but they're within distance, it looks like. So
Jabari Parker is currently guarding Kevin Durant right now on the court, so I think we're in good shape.
All right. But I don't know, man. I think that's everything that I got for the first round of the playoffs. I'm sure we'll hang out next Tuesday night, and maybe we'll have a series or 2 wrapped up by then. Who knows? But looking forward to watching more basketball every night. And it's just we missed out on this last year. I know we got the play-in tournament. This feels real. Like fans are back at the it just feels right. And then being outside the Bucks Stadium last night for that game, it just everything felt. I can't even explain it, but the universe has settled down and everything is kind of where it's supposed to be. So I'm just happy to have people out and doing things. Basketball is back, and I don't know, just having fun, man.
The bubble was so abrupt. It was so abrupt. It came out of nowhere. It was the most unique experience of all time, like as a fan, but it didn't feel right. I 100% agree with what you just said. Like, you go from the regular season into the playoffs, the way the players kind of transition throughout the season, they, especially the guys who know what the heck they're doing and are preparing for a long season, a playoff run, they slowly turn it on over time, and you just watch that unfold. You watch that metamorphosis of the entire season transferring into the playoffs. After the All-Star break, everyone takes off. It gets serious or is recovering from injuries, and then the playoffs are here. It's just a very normal, natural rhythm, and I appreciate it, and I agree with you. It feels more real.
Well, that was we talk about like what the Bucks and the Heat did last year. Like the Bucks didn't look like themselves at all in any of those playing bubble games, so that reset to the season, whatever it was, like a month off, 30-40 days off from not playing basketball, might have even been 2 months, I can't remember, but just to have it continuous, things are back to normal, basketball is good. I don't know, I'm just very excited and just appreciating the good things that they are back. So I don't know, that's going to do it for tonight's show. You guys can follow John on Twitter. I got his link in the description below. Maybe next week we'll get into some Top Shot talk. We'll fill out a drafters lineup. We'll get into all that good stuff. But I don't know. Enjoy the playoff games tonight. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Peace.